Hi everyone, my name is Bianca Perez, and I'm here to answer your questions about being a lawyer. I'm currently a content author at UWorld, working on developing our online bar prep course. You all sent in so many great questions about what it takes to work in this field, and I'm excited to answer some of those questions for you. So let's get started. Was law school expensive? I can't lie, yes, law school is expensive, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. So I think a lot of people, when they start the process of applying to law school, are so focused on going to the big name law schools, or what in the legal field is known as the top 14. And while those are obviously great schools, and if you can get into them and can afford to go, that's great for you, that's fantastic. But that's not really the only avenue. There's so many great local law schools that produce really great attorneys. So if you have an area where you want to live, or if you know where you want to practice, it's a really good idea to look into those local law schools. Most law schools offer scholarships, and unlike colleges, law schools are open to negotiating scholarships. So I got into a number of law schools in California, and when I would get my first scholarship offer, you can take that offer and present it to a different law school and say, I'm really interested in your law school, but the price is a little much for me. I got this offer from another law school. Do you think that you can work with that? And you can try to pull a little more money from law schools. What are the most common legal issues individuals and businesses face? So there are so many different reasons that someone may need a lawyer, right? I think obviously what you think of first is maybe a criminal defense attorney. So if someone has been arrested or charged with a crime, they obviously need an attorney to help them navigate that process and to defend them. Someone may need a family law attorney if they're going through a divorce or a custody battle, or if they want to adopt a child. There's wills and estates attorneys who help people draft their wills. There are also, on the other side, business and transactional attorneys. So businesses have to comply with a lot of different laws and regulations, and it can vary from state to state or even county to county. But there really are such a wide variety of reasons that people need an attorney that you can really find what you like and what you're passionate about in the field. Do you have any study methods or techniques you used in law school that worked? First, I will say that in law school, it is so important to not cram or to not leave everything until right before the test or the final. So in law school, unlike in college, your entire grade for a course rests really on one test. So I think a big thing that helps in law school is to do the reading and take notes before you get to class. So if you're in class and the first time you're being presented with this information, which is often very complex or complicated or something that you've had no exposure to, if the first time you're hearing the information is when you're in class, you don't really have the opportunity to fully absorb what the professor is saying and engage with the material. So if you have done the reading and you've taken the notes beforehand, and then you can come to class with maybe questions about the reading or things you needed further clarification on, then it really helps you and it frees you up to engage with the professor, to listen to what they're saying, and to ask questions. So definitely prepare beforehand and try not to cram. Was math required? I love this question because it is such a common joke in the legal field that lawyers hate math and try to avoid math at all costs. So really, the only math you're gonna need is for college, whatever your major is, you're gonna have to take required math classes. I had to take one math class in college, and it was statistics, and I had to take it 3 times. So after that, you really don't have any required math courses in law school. Once you get into the practice of law, you just need the basic math skills to be able to calculate damages. So basic addition and subtraction, maybe some percentages when calculating attorney's fees. But it really just depends on what your major is in college. So if you don't like math, you don't necessarily have to take a math-heavy major. What strategies does the team use to stay up to date on changes in the law? So the state bar wants to make sure that you don't stop learning when you pass the bar. The law is a rapidly changing industry. A single court case can even really change an area of law sometimes. So as an attorney, you are required to take continuing education courses over the years, and you get just a certain number each year to ensure that you're staying up to date on your area of law. Here at UWorld, our legal team is constantly scouring like legislative reports, case decisions, things like that, just to ensure that our materials are up to date at all times. Are there any alternatives to going to court? So I'm assuming this question means if you want to become a lawyer, are there any alternatives to being in the courtroom every day? And the answer is yes. In fact, most attorneys don't spend a lot of time in court unless you're in criminal law or you're a litigator. You're not really going to spend that much time in a courtroom. For example, transactional attorneys will deal more with contract drafting, negotiating deals, working with business clients to make sure that they're complying with laws and regulations. So it is possible to be an attorney and not have to see a courtroom. I have a lot of friends from law school that never want to set foot in a courtroom, and they don't have to. They do things like tax law. They work in a government entity or government office even. So it's not required to be in the courtroom every day. Does being a lawyer involve a lot of paperwork? Yes, it does, which again is why we emphasize so much that any exposure you can get to writing is so important. Most cases are decided without ever setting foot in a courtroom, and they are decided, what we say, it's decided on the papers. So there's a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of writing, obviously, but there's also just a lot of reviewing documents. You want to have really good attention to detail. But there's really no way to get around it. There's a lot of paperwork. Well, that's all the time we have for questions. I hope this was helpful. Everyone at UWorld wishes you all the best in your future careers, and good luck.